So welcome to this edition of Speed Talk, and we've got none other than Head Judge of Cake International, David Close. Now,
No, I really appreciate it, and thanks very much indeed for the offer. And yes, I always like to sort of wear the red tunic, because to me, standards are important, and if I look professional, then consequently, then my judges will look professional. That's the ethos behind it.
let's get straight down to the key question. I mean, how long have you been Head Judge at Cake International? It seems like a long time, but how long?
It certainly seems it, but to be quite honest, it's quite short, because I was talking to Melanie Underwood, and we were talking about how many head judges have we had in Cake International, because we've got our 30th anniversary coming up.
Yes.
And, you know, when we sort of looked at it, there was 4 of us. And I thought, well, that's good, because, and then you say to yourself, okay, so who were the 4? And I came along in 2019. So Karen Keating was the Keeney was the judge at the time, and Karen stood down, and then I took her place from there. So I've been doing it since, well, nearly 5-6 years now. So yes, it's a fabulous job.
It must come with a lot of pressure as well, because you've not only got to manage the judges, you've also got the competitors who, you know, we know certainly from our members who enter. It's a hugely emotional experience for everyone, and you know, emotions can run high. So I guess you've got your fair share of management to have to practice at big shows.
Oh, massively, yes. And you just hit the nail on the head there, because the majority of competitors and the cake industry are so passionate. Sometimes the emotion overtakes the passion. And, you know, when we put an exhibit onto a table, that's our baby in there. That's our baby we put on that table. And how dare you criticize my baby? I put blood, sweat, and tears in there. And you give me something constructive. Give me something that I can walk away with. And if I haven't been successful in what I aspired to, then consequently, let me know. Tell me where I've got the ability to improve. And to me, that's what the judging's all about. And it can rather be quite subjective, because we've all got our own viewpoints. We've all got our own unconscious bias, and we need to make sure that we park those. I mean, things like, that's a nice cake. Well, nice doesn't mean anything. What is it? What is it? What's nice about it? Tell me, let me know. And what can I improve on? So you're quite right. And it's one of the reasons why we say to people at the end, you know, okay, go away and think about it. And if you really feel that you have an agreement, then please get in touch with us. We're going to give you 28 days. The justification for that is reflection. The emotions have been built up. There's been lack of sleep. You're getting it onto the table. You just go, it's there. It's now in the lap of the judges to make the decisions. Well, they've got to remember there's more than one judge. We don't do it independently. We do it as a collaboration, working independently to get the scores. And then I come along, and then we go through and say, okay, justify your answer to why you've given it this. And the judges then have to justify that to me. So we give it as much time and effort as we possibly can, because we have all been there. Each judge has been in the same situation as a competitor. We've had the tears of joy, and the tears of defeat, rejection. My work's not good enough. But you know what? That's that emotional time you say to yourself, look, wake up and smell the coffee. You've had the constructive criticism. It's been given you by subject matter experts in their field. Take it on board and learn from it. I used to say in catering, for example, you are only as good as your last meal. Well, you're only as good as your last cake. So if you got a gold last year, that's not necessarily what you're going to get this year. So put your heart and soul in it and do your very, very best. But you're right. I mean, as soon as somebody puts the exhibit on the table, that's a gold medal. Now, the judge's job is to look at the criteria and see whether it remains a gold medal. And we'll go through the 5 categories: the wow factor, the impact, the skills, the techniques, and everything else. And there's no way that we want to reduce the standard that has been set. You know, we've got the standard there for a reason, and anybody coming to Cake International will say, you know what, it is high. And some years I get the comments, oh, the judge has been very harsh this year. and you say, well, no harsher than any other years.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe the standard just wasn't there on that particular time, and it's on the day. It's how the judges have got on with the exhibit, how they go, and how many exhibits there are.
Yeah.
So I mean, but everybody deserves constructive criticism, and more importantly, I've actually changed the critique form this year, and it says, what can I improve on? So we've added that little column in there. Here are some suggestions for improvement for your exhibit.
Very general, but she's asked for any top tips for the wildcard entries. I know that they're more general, less specific, but would you have any top tips for wildcard entries?
The general is, I love the wild cards. And to me, the wild card is about, well, what impresses? Give us what you got. I mean, this year we've got two great classes there. We've got the one, for example, about the myths and that type of stuff there, because we've slightly moved away from horror this year. But you know what? Yeah. I'm going to miss it. I'm going to miss horror. I absolutely love horror, and people, I don't know, they really love blood and guts and gore and trying to frighten people. And to me, that is fascinating. And I'm always, mega impressed when I see that, because of the innovation that they're doing. So this year we've got another one, and that's the head judge's wild card, and that's the mask, the edible mask. So it's all got to be edible, and sort of, I remember when I was thinking about it, I thought, what, this has to be able to be worn. Wow. So somebody has to pick this mask up and wear it. So what I've done is we've got some mannequins coming along, and then we've got some formers.
Right.
So this is a former. So the Sugarcraft mask, chocolate mask, whatever medium you're going to use, will go on top of that, and then someone will put that onto a mannequin so that they can actually see what it is. But it all has to be edible. The only thing that we're accepting that is not edible is if you're putting lights on it, and if you're putting a ribbon on it to tie it in. Mm-hmm. But to me, I think it's going to be an amazing class. I really do. I think it's going to go outside the box. Yeah, we always leave the categories for the wild judges very open as much as we possibly can. It's not as prescriptive as some of the other classes. And I don't know whether you've noticed this year, we've really gone through the schedule, and we've tried to amalgamate everything into one schedule. So we've got the rules and regulations right at the very front. And then we've got the class criteria, and then class criteria, you're able to go through and see what they are. And that's taken it away from individuals having to think about going to two areas, one for the general rules, and then one for the rules for the class. And I think that's working reasonably well. We've also working with the competitions group. And the competitions group, like yourselves, they put forward lots of questions. So again, we're working in partnership with them this year so that we can answer as many questions as we possibly can. I think we're up to about 48 at the present moment in time. And again, they go through the competitions group, and then what I will do with the judges as we get nearer to the date, they will get the classes individually broken down to the class that they're actually going to be undertaking, so they know what the competitors asked for, and they know what the answers have been given from ICHF and myself as the head judge on how to answer that question and what to look for. But it's an open class, the wild card, and I think it's a fabulous class.
Yeah, well, it's the one. I mean, the imaginations can run wild in pretty much any class, but I think that this sounds really, a good place for people to go to really challenge themselves if it's quite a broad criteria. But I think one of the things that you've mentioned there, and I know something that has come up with members, and we have members who have won gold, and when they're advising others, it's read the rules. I think that's the biggest reason when people you say blood, sweat and tears, but
we always sort of say, for example, the first thing you do is read the rules. The second thing you do is you read the rules, and the third thing you do is you read the rules again. And then you can do one of two things. When I used to enter competitions, I would write down key points that the rules required me to do, and I would write down the key points that the rules required that I didn't do. Because as you said, for example, we tend to get very close to the exhibit, and as time goes on, if we haven't planned it correctly, fail to plan rather than plan to fail. If we put that in context, we then say to yourself is, what tends to happen as you get nearer to the date, you might be coming under a little bit of rush, and then you say, well, I'll just add this and I'll just add that. Or you might get one of your partners in and say, can you have a quick look at that there? And you know what? That's the worst thing you can do. Happy wife is a happy life. Oh, darling, it's absolutely wonderful. You know, fabulous. But be quite honest, get somebody who isn't as close to you as that, and somebody who's got the ability to be open and honest with you to say, do you know what? I think you've done this, or you could do this. That extra pair of eyes, that fresh pair of eyes coming in to take you away from your original focus that you've spent your blood, sweat, and tears in, can be refreshing at that last period in time.
It's so balanced, and you know, it sounds certainly as fair can be, and I think that's, you know, hopefully people that are watching just understand that, you know, the amount of effort that's going on in the back room to make sure that, you know, all the judges that come out are kind of on the same sheet, and you know, everybody's on, you know, working to a very high standard, but you know, to strict criteria which is laid out in the questions. So so David, I mean, you're now head judge at Cake International and all these other amazing events, but what's been your cake journey to get to this point?
Oh, I thought we'd be getting to that point. Well, my cake journey was I was in the Air Force for 24 years. So while I was in the Air Force, I was competing mainly on the savory side. And then, I suppose the early 80s, my brother was getting married. And when he was getting married, we didn't have things like sugar paste then. I had to make sugar paste at a gum tragathon and all the rest of it, and pasteurized pieces. So I did a cake for him. And if you remember back, it was those days, maybe you're probably not as old as me, but if you remember back, it was those days when you used to get the rice paper roses. And the rice paper roses were like little saucers, and they were all shaped as a rose. And then you get a couple of leaves in them. So I had some of those on, and you had things like asparagus and gypsophilia that you would use, which we wouldn't think of using nowadays.
Yeah.
So we got to the reception, and the wedding was good, and he went to cut the cake. Well, the sugar paste was so solid that he couldn't actually get the knife into it. So I said, you know what, I'm going to have to do something here. So then I said, well, right, well, what I need to do is I need to learn all about this sugarcraft stuff.
Been quite a journey, and again, it's just good for people to understand, you know, what's kind of gone on before to get you to where you are now. But you know, I mean, there's already, you know, it's a huge amount of passion and determination and just this love of the craft that's in there as well, which is so lovely to see.
No, I'm very, very passionate about, certainly about Cake International, and more importantly, passionate about sugarcraft and passing on the skills that I had. No longer deliver it myself now, practically, but the wealth of knowledge up there, you know, anybody can have it if they really need it.
You know, that's brilliant. It's kind of mind-boggling that, you know, I guess that's the excitement, isn't it? Is just finding things that have never been done before, and each new thing that comes along is just progressing the industry. You know, another huge step forward. So it's all exciting times. So just one final question would be, so if you have any advice, so somebody who's starting out new in the cake industry today, they want to become well known, what would your advice be on how to kind of get started?